new update at 8 o'clock has Helene now at Category 2, potentially up to Category 4 before it makes landfall this evening. I'll show you what sort of things we'll see here with this system.
And as Helene approaches our state, energy crews are working ahead to make sure they can respond quickly to power outages. We'll explain the technology that automatically detects outages, helping to get the lights back on faster. Plus, the western part of our state already experiencing some intense weather ahead of Helene. We'll have a look at this tornado that took down dozens of trees, and some areas already experiencing flooding. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us. I'm Michelle McConaughey. It is a WRAL weather alert day. We are expecting Helene to make landfall in Florida later today. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking where Helene is right now.
Right now, it's about 320 miles southwest of Tampa, likely to make landfall here in the Big Bend area during the evening hours, around dinner time or just after. It has winds now at 100 miles per hour as of the new advisory. It's also moving northeast at around 12 miles per hour. So it will intensify as it continues to move through these very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. By 2 o'clock this afternoon, potentially Cat 3 and maybe Cat 4 by the time it makes landfall, with 130 mile per hour winds. Strong winds at hurricane strength continue into a good bit of Georgia, and then the storm pretty much hangs out for the weekend there and dissipates over Tennessee. Of course, we're looking at some major impacts in North Carolina in the mountains, and that's mainly because of a front that's stalled there. And so the rain started here yesterday, and already parts of the central and southern mountains have seen anywhere from 4 to almost 7 inches of rain. And then we'll see Helene's rain on top of that. It's been a quiet morning for us. We're going to start off with dual Doppler 5000 radar here. No rain at this point, but later on today, we'll see some showers. Right now, the closest rain is from Greensboro back down towards Charlotte. It is a WRAL weather alert day. Level 1 risk for severe storms in our southern counties. The best chance of seeing tornadoes is likely to be tomorrow morning. We can't rule it out later this afternoon either. From lunchtime into the afternoon and evening, we'll see some scattered showers and possibly some thunderstorms, some pockets of heavy rain, but we're only looking at 1 to 3 inches total from this system. So this is not going to be a widespread flooding issue for us, but some minor isolated flooding is possible. The heaviest rain starts around 7 or 8 o'clock tomorrow morning and lasts until around lunchtime or early afternoon. Boy, it is going to be heavy for those hours in the morning tomorrow. That's when we could see some gusts up to 30 miles per hour, and again, some pockets of some heavy rain, and some of that continues into the afternoon, but we'll likely see the heaviest rainfall in the morning. All total for us between now and the end of the day Friday, about 1 inch to 3 inches of rainfall, winds gusting 20 to 30. That could knock down a few trees, but that shouldn't be widespread. And of course, we're looking at much bigger impacts in the mountains. I'll show you what they could expect there. Coming up, Ken.
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL traffic center. We continue to monitor a crash on I-40 westbound this morning. This is near Lake Wheeler Road. It's causing quite a bit of a slowdown there on the southbound side of the Beltline. So keep that in mind as you head out. As we isolate the Beltline, you can see the huge red line there that is causing in that area. And it's this crash just happened a little while ago. Give me about 10 minutes. I'll let you know how much that's going to continue to affect your morning commute this morning. But if the Beltline is part of your morning commute, you're looking at maybe a 10-15 minute delay, depending on where you get on the belt line. So that's something to keep in mind this morning as you begin to head out. The other trouble spot this morning, this crash right here on Lewisburg Road is causing quite a bit of a slowdown. If you can get over to Mitchell Mill Road and work your way back to Lewisburg Road, that's an option. US 1 is not an option because it's hugely back up at this time, but Mitchell Mill Road might be your best bet this morning because you're looking at a 15 to 20 minute delay there on Lewisburg Road. So keep that in mind as you're about to head out this morning. We'll continue to watch that for you. Really quickly, there was a crash right there on the side of the road there at Rock Quarry Road, and clearly just cleared in the last 5 minutes, but I just wanted to let you know that, but clearly nothing to worry about this morning right there in Rock Quarry Road.
All right, thanks, Ken. People in Florida are preparing for the worst. Hurricane Helene is expected to intensify to a Category 4 storm before making landfall later today. Authorities are warning of storm surges as high as 20 feet. That could be life-threatening. Tallahassee could face catastrophic winds of more than 115 miles per hour. Some counties in Florida have issued evacuation orders, and emergency shelters are now open. People all across the southeast are preparing by stocking up on groceries and water. And Helene is expected to bring widespread power outages all across the southeast, including across our state as well. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from Duke Energy headquarters. And Kelsey, Duke Energy has been working for days to get these crews ready to respond.
Michelle, they sure have. And the folks here at Duke Energy have a message for their customers in the Triangle this morning. They say you should prepare now. Check out this video of flash flooding near UNC Asheville. This flooding comes as Hurricane Helene is on a path that will barrel through Florida. Duke Energy crews are preparing for the storm in Charlotte as it's expected to have a widespread impact. We spoke with Jeff Brooks from Duke Energy about storm prep here in the Triangle. He says they're prepared to use what's called self-healing technology to help restore power.
It automatically detects power outages and then reroutes power to other lines to help restore service faster for customers.
Duke Energy is asking customers to notify them if they lose power. If your power goes out, you can give them a call, send a message on your Duke Energy app, or text OUT to 57801. For more information on how you can prepare ahead of the storm, just go to our website, WRAL.com. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
And crews are ready to respond in Florida. This is a look at the utility trucks and line workers waiting for the storm in Pensacola. Florida Power and Light says crews from more than 20 states are involved in the efforts. And parts of the western part of the state are seeing severe flooding this morning ahead of Helene, our state. This is video from Asheville showing floodwaters rising near Biltmore Village. And take a look at this video of a tornado near the Chitola Resort in Blowing Rock. The video of this rotating storm was taken about 6:30 yesterday evening. Blowing Rock's town manager says the storm took down at least 25 trees. Watauga County schools will dismiss early today for expected severe weather. And WRAL has a crew headed to the mountains this morning. Look for their live reports today. That's starting at 4. And this morning at 11 o'clock, Governor Roy Cooper and emergency management officials will give an update on Helene preparations. You can watch it live on Fox 50 and on WRAL News Plus. And you can count on WRAL to keep you updated throughout the storms. Download the WRAL News app where you can find live radar and get alerts based on your location. Make sure your notifications are turned on. And today, Wake County school leaders will talk about their concerns with a plan to expand private school vouchers in the state. At 1:30 this afternoon, Superintendent Robert Taylor will address House Bill 10, specifically how it could affect funding and key services provided to students and families. The bill provides enough funding to address a wait list of 54,000 students. Governor Cooper recently vetoed the bill, but Republicans have a veto-proof majority in the legislature. They're expected to schedule a session to override the veto in November. And Durham Public School employees plan to rally ahead of tonight's meeting of the Board of Education. The Durham Association of Educators says it'll deliver a banner with the faces of more than 1,300 DPS employees. They say it represents a call for the Board of Education to respect workers' rights. The district is working to overhaul its salary schedules for some employees, and the issue of pay sparked protests last school year. Last week, the board approved an additional $80 per month for some employees. And police in New York, in the city, are preparing for protests ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit. Netanyahu left Israel this morning to travel to New York. He is addressing the UN General Assembly. He is expected to speak at the gathering of world leaders tomorrow. Earlier this week, nearly 36 people were arrested during a pro-Palestinian protest in New York. Vice President Kamala Harris plans to visit the U.S.-Mexico border tomorrow. She'll visit a border town in Arizona to speak about immigration and border security there. Former President Donald Trump will be in the battleground state of Michigan on the same day. He'll be there for 2 events in the battleground state. And Harris outlined a series of economic proposals yesterday at a rally in Pennsylvania and an interview on MSNBC. At his event here in North Carolina, Trump criticized how valid Harris's plans are.
Our economy is doing really, really badly. Kamala goes to work every day in the White House. Families are suffering now. So if she has a plan, she should stop grandstanding and do it. Just do it.
Donald Trump has a history of taking care of very rich people. And I'm not mad at anybody for being rich, but they should pay their fair share.
A new CNN poll shows 50% of likely voters think Trump would better handle the economy compared to 39% for Harris. Coming up, a federal judge is calling for stricter restrictions on the water you drink after a report found fluoride in drinking water can be linked to lower IQs. People are calling for a change. Plus, another tragic update about the Boar's Head listeria outbreak, what we know about a 10th death connected to the deli meat brand.
And a stalled front is bringing very heavy rain to the western part of North Carolina. And look at this, a brand new tornado warning down in Georgia. I'll show you when we'll start to see rain and when our tornado threat will increase coming up.
Welcome back. 8:13 on your Thursday morning, your rainy Thursday as you look live over Hickory, North Carolina. The western part of our state really going to get a lot of rain. Parts of it already are seeing major flooding there, up to 10 inches in McDowell County. Meteorologist Elizabeth Garner is tracking Helene's path right now, expected to make landfall in Florida later today. This is going to be a big storm.
It really is, potentially Cat 4 as it makes landfall here in the Big Bend just north of Tampa. We're also following the stationary front that has produced a lot of heavy rain out ahead of Helene itself. That stationary front really helping to funnel a lot of tropical moisture into the mountains of North Carolina. Right now, Helene has winds at 100 miles per hour, just upgraded to Category 2 in the 8 o'clock advisory. And it is likely to continue to develop very rapidly because of these warm sea surface temperatures. That warm water is the fuel for the storm. And the warmer the water is, the faster it will intensify. And that's what we're seeing as the storm continues to develop very quickly. Cat 3 by this afternoon, possibly Cat 4 by this evening when it makes landfall. Cat 1 into Georgia, and then over the weekend moving into Tennessee and just dissipating. Here's a look at that front and plenty of rain moving up from the Gulf of Mexico. And look at this first tornado warning that we've seen so far this morning near Augusta, Georgia. And of course, all in these lines of thunderstorms will have that potential. That all starts to shift farther east later on this afternoon and evening. And so we're going to get into that window of that potential for some tornadoes as well. Boy, rainfall is going to be really heavy with this. And it's the mountains of North Carolina that will see most of the rain of the entire system, all the way from Florida up to North Carolina and westward. It's really going to be the mountains that see it. They've already seen 6 to 7 inches in some places and could see up to 10, 15 plus. For us, nothing like that. We're going to see 1 to 3 inches of rainfall, which could create some minor flooding. We've seen a good bit of rain lately, so we're fairly saturated, but 1 to 3 inches for us as compared to an additional 5 to 7, maybe even additional 10 inches in some places in the mountains. And you can see here around Asheville and Hendersonville, about 6.5 inches, and then just east of there, up to 7 inches showing up in terms of at least the radar estimates. So here's a look at what's going on. We watched that storm down to the south, potentially making landfall at about 9:15, and there's really nothing behind it, maybe some wind, but all the rain is out ahead of it. And so we're seeing that heavy rain during the day today. We'll see the heaviest rain tomorrow morning. We're going to see one big rain band that comes through during the morning commute up until around lunchtime, and that's going to bring us our biggest chance of seeing some heavier rain and the possibility of tornadoes. Now, with some tornadoes already developing down to the south, certainly it's a possibility this afternoon and this evening as well. But watch this big band of rain that comes through tomorrow morning. There's 10 a.m., there's 12, and then we see all of that starting to dissipate, minus a few isolated showers and thunderstorms later on Friday. But that's going to be the biggest impact for us. A level 1 risk for our southern counties for later today, and then tomorrow it's a level 2 risk for some scattered tornadoes when we see that big band coming through. Right now, Saturday is looking dry, and Sunday we may see a few isolated storms. Ken?
Elizabeth, all new into the WRAL traffic center. We got something brewing here in Durham, mainly, when you get the I-40 westbound near the split as you get into I-885. This is what we're talking about here. That crash we're talking about has been happening now in the last 10 minutes or so. It's I-885 freeway near I-40 westbound, just that split. You can see the huge delays it's causing. Listen, I would stay on I-40 westbound and get off on 55 and work your way into Durham this morning as an alternate route to avoid the situation that's building right there. Up in Roseville now, we're working to figure out if what type of bus is involved in this crash near Bullington Mills Road, near Main Street. We're not seeing any particular slowdowns in that area, but I did see some purple on the map. I'll check it out and let you know exactly what's going on there in Roseville. This is something we continue to follow here, this I-40 westbound crash near Lake Wheeler Road. As we isolate the Beltline this morning, you can see exactly what we're talking about in terms of the delay stretching all the way back almost to the 40 I-440 split this morning. If you're coming in from Garner, Johnston County needs to get to all points west. I would take the northern side of the Beltline just to be on the safe side this morning and just avoid that southern loop. This is the other trouble spot this morning because of this crash on Lewisburg Road. Listen, if you can get over to Forestville Road, and that'll help you get around the mess that you're seeing right now on Lewisburg Road, I would tell you to go over to US 1, but you can see the huge red that it's causing this morning. You're about to head out. Make sure you listen to us on 101.5 HD3 anywhere in the Triangle.
All right, thanks, Ken. People in Charlotte are bracing for the impacts of Helene. As Gary Brode reports, stormwater workers are doing what they can now to avoid flooding once the storm arrives.
The creeks are calm in Charlotte for now.
Our operations crews have been looking at the creeks and looking for any kind of blockages.
John Wendell and the rest of Charlotte-Mecklenburg Stormwater Services know things are likely going to get rough in about 24 hours, especially along Long and Gar Creeks, which recently got a few inches of rain.
There was one of our rain gauges along Gar Creek had over 3 inches of rain last night.
That's going to be
the ground's saturated there and the creek is up. So if you get another 2 to 3 inches of rain in that same watershed, that could cause some problems.
Up to 15 inches expected in the mountains, and foothills will eventually make its way down to the Piedmont days later.
We do anticipate that, the heavy rains that are coming this way could impact our river basins, and so we've been moving waters through the river system in preparation for that.
Logan Stewart with Duke Energy says they have already started moving that water through the river to lower lake levels to avoid potential flooding. About 10,000 Duke Energy workers are on standby from here to the East Coast and the Midwest.
If the path of the hurricane changes, we can move those resources so we could send them to the mountain. If the mountains is not hit as hard and Charlotte is hit hard, they can send resources here.
Your time is 8:19 here on the WRAL Live Center. We're looking at the impacts that Helene is having in Florida right now, specifically Key West. This camera right here, this is a business there, Sloppy Joe's Bar, but I want to point your attention specifically to the top left corner of the screen there. You see those fast-moving clouds right there, and if I remove these arrows, you can also see the fronds of those palm trees blowing right there. So I think it's interesting to note how it's obviously still far out from where this is, but still seeing the effects of it. I want to walk to this other screen here to show you another part. This is the southmost point of Key West here, and you'll see just how violent those waves are. I actually saw two people standing there looking like they were trying to take a photo, but seeing something like this, yeah, that's not really selfie conditions out there.
No, it is not. My goodness. Thanks, Chris. Well, the U.S. and some of its allies are calling for an immediate 21-day ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. This comes as Israel's military says it's preparing for a possible ground incursion into Lebanon. Israel has killed hundreds in Lebanon and displaced tens of thousands. This week, Hezbollah targeted Tel Aviv for the first time ever with missiles that Israel intercepted. Israel and Lebanon have not responded to the ceasefire proposal. And the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students will make his first court appearance in Ada County this afternoon. This will be Brian Kohberger's first court appearance since being transferred from Latah County, where the killings happened. A change of venue was approved because of how high profile this case is. Kohberger has been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. His trial is set for June of next year. And a federal judge is calling for more regulations on fluoride in drinking water. The judge says the Environmental Protection Agency should impose more regulations on the chemical in drinking water. That's because a recent report found high levels can harm children's intellectual development, even lower IQs. The EPA argues the impact of lower levels of fluoride is still unclear. According to the CDC, about 2/3 of Americans drink fluoridated water. A 10th person has died in connection with the Boar's Head deli meat listeria outbreak. Federal health leaders say the recent death was a man in New York. Dozens of people in at least 19 states have been hospitalized. Boar's Head is permanently closing the Virginia plant where the meat was contaminated. And picture a high school classroom. Right now, 3 of those students are vaping. That's according to the state health department. Our newest WRAL documentary is all about young people vaping, from how they get the products to the chemicals inside that are keeping kids addicted. WRAL investigative documentary reporter Kristen Severance spoke with dozens of young people who say this is a problem.
I think vaping is one of the biggest issues our generation needs to address.
It's been noticeable since I was in 6th grade.
And kids even before the age of 13 are trying vapes.
Friends, family, everyone. You see it everywhere.
And the documentary addresses the aggressive marketing tactics that includes vapes shaped like highlighters and being available in fruity flavors to get kids addicted. Watch Gen Z Teen Vaping in North Carolina tonight at 7:30 or on WRALdoc.com. And Fox Premiere Week continues tonight with 2 cooking shows. Season 23 of Hell's Kitchen begins at 8 o'clock right here on Fox 50. And then at 9, you can watch Crime Scene Kitchen, where contestants decipher clues about what was created in the kitchen, then have to recreate the dish themselves. And coming up, utility crews are preparing for the potential of power outages as Helene reaches our state. We'll explain a system Duke Energy is using to reroute power and reduce the amount of people impacted by outages. And this election season, people are stealing political signs right out of people's front yards. The charges people could face if caught taking these signs.
Stay safe with the latest WRAL Weather Alert Day info. Get up to the minute weather and traffic conditions when you get in your car. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM, in Durham 96.5 FM, and everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. It is a WRAL Weather Alert Day. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking all the rain ahead of Helene.
Overnight last night and even parts of yesterday, we saw a lot of rain in the western part of the state. Eventually, that starts to slide into our area, especially once we get closer to lunchtime. We checked dual Doppler 5000 radar, and all the rain so far is around Charlotte and the Triad. We haven't seen much of that here this morning, but it is a WRAL Weather Alert Day. We've started to see a few isolated tornadoes down in South Carolina and Georgia, and we have a level 1 risk for that for late today. Our chance of rain goes up this afternoon to around 60%, but the wettest period of this whole system for us is going to come tomorrow morning, early around 7 or 8, lasting until the early part of the afternoon. That's when we could see more isolated tornadoes, some winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour and 1 to 3 inches of rain. Ken?
Elizabeth, we're seeing congestion in the usual spots this morning. Of course, the south side of the Beltline as well as the north side of the Beltline. We're also monitoring this crash there on I-885 in the southbound lane near the I-40 split. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, I'll have an update in terms of how that's going to affect your morning commute. Of course, the delays that you're seeing at US 1. Let's look at those sensors and look at those delays this morning. 13 minutes coming in from Wake Forest on US 1. You're just looking at a 1-minute delay there coming in from Nidale and I-87 this morning.
Thanks, Ken. Duke Energy crews are preparing for the possibility of power outages from Helene as it reaches our state. The state DOT has barricades already staged at those flood-prone areas, ready to go up if needed. Governor Cooper is holding an emergency briefing at 11 a.m. on preparations for Helene. And next on Fox 50, why Helene's expected path into the North Carolina mountains is unnerving for those who remember Tropical Storm Fred. And next on Today, a look at how artificial intelligence is being used to teach kids in school.
Hurricane Helene, now a Category 2 storm, still likely to make landfall as a major hurricane along the coast of Florida. I'll show you what they'll see there and how much rain and what our tornado potential is here coming up.
And from Florida to here in North Carolina, people all over the southeast are preparing for a potential catastrophic situation as Hurricane Helene approaches the coast. How people are working to get ahead of the storm as some start to feel its impacts. Plus, Wake County school leaders are raising concerns over the potential expansion of private school vouchers, what they say the bill would take away from public schools if passed. Thanks for joining us here at 8:30 on Fox 50. I'm Michelle McConaughey. It is a WRAL Weather Alert Day. We're going to get right to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner tracking where Hurricane Helene is right now.
And right now, that storm is sitting about 320 miles southwest of Tampa, headed for the Big Bend area where we could see as much as 15 to 20 feet of storm surge. Could be a Category 4 storm with winds at 130 miles per hour as it makes landfall. It's Category 2 right now, moving northeast at around 12 miles per hour. Could be Cat 3 by about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Landfall along the coast there in the Big Bend area is likely to be around 8 or 9 o'clock this evening. And pretty much all the rain and all the trouble with this is going to be out ahead of it. So that's what we're seeing right now, is lots of rain moving up to the southeast and especially into the mountains of North Carolina. One thing that's really made it worse is the stationary front that's interacting with a lot of this tropical moisture. That started yesterday with rain in the mountains, and already they've seen as much as 6 to 7 inches. We have some ongoing flooding happening in Asheville. A couple of tornado warnings. One of those just expired there in Augusta, Georgia. I believe there may have been another one there into South Carolina. So starting to see some of those tornadoes developing down to the south. Dual Doppler 5000 radar showing some rain back to our west. Greensboro down towards Charlotte, but right now our viewing area is quiet, but it is a WRAL weather alert day. We have a level 1 risk for our southern counties. We could start to see some isolated tornadoes late this afternoon or this evening. As we get into the afternoon, we start to see some bands of rain. And again, you could see later on today a few isolated cells. It's possible that we would see a tornado there. But what looks even more concerning is what could happen tomorrow morning. This is 7 a.m. We see this one band, this rain band that moves through. That's likely where we're going to see winds gusting 25 to 30. We'll have some heavy rain and the potential for some isolated tornadoes. After that, things begin to quiet down with just a few isolated pop-up cells for us on Friday afternoon as we begin to dry things out. Right now, it doesn't look like a big heavy rain event for us in terms of totals, looking at maybe 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. Could see a few isolated tornadoes and 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts. Of course, it looks much worse in the mountains. They're already seeing some flooding there now. I'll show you what they could expect by the time it's all over. Coming up, Ken.
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We continue to follow that situation brewing in the Durham area because of this crash right here. We're being told that it's really in the clearing phase. It's on I-885 in the southbound lane near the I-40 split this morning. You can see the huge delays it's causing anyway on that section of I-885 this morning. So keep that in mind. You're looking at a 10-15 minute delay. Highway 55 is a great alternate route there. We're still working to find out exactly what's going on with this situation, a crash involving a bus there in Roseville. I'm also keeping an eye on this purple location right there. Usually when you see purple on the traffic map, it means that particular roadway is closed. I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on. As soon as I know, I'll be sure to let you know this morning. But elsewhere around the Triangle and surrounding communities, this crash on I-40 westbound near Lake Wheeler Road is probably also in the clearing phase. But as we isolate the belt line this morning, you can see exactly what we're talking about in terms of how the slowdown that is causing almost all the way back to the I-40-440 split this morning. You're probably looking at a 5 to 10 minute delay. If you're coming in from Garner or Johnson County and you need to go to all points west, I would use the northern loop of the Beltline this morning.
Thanks, Ken. Florida is getting ready for a potentially catastrophic situation as Hurricane Helene approaches the Gulf Coast. The storm could be a Category 4 hurricane when it makes landfall later today. Helene could bring a storm surge of up to 20 feet when it arrives. Authorities are warning that could be life-threatening. Some counties in Florida are under evacuation orders and emergency shelters are now open. And people all across the southeast are preparing by stocking up on groceries and water. And utility crews are getting ready for the potential of widespread power outages from Helene across the state. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains people need to get ready for what to do if they should lose power.
The folks here at Duke Energy are offering this message to people across the Triangle today. They say you should prepare now. Check out this video of flash flooding near UNC Asheville. This flooding comes as Hurricane Helene is on a path that will barrel through Florida. Duke Energy crews are preparing for the storm in Charlotte as it's expected to have a widespread impact. We spoke with Jeff Brooks from Duke Energy about storm prep here in the Triangle. He says they're prepared to use what's called self-healing technology to help restore power.
This is like a GPS for the power grid. It looks for alternate ways to reroute power. It doesn't take the tree off the line or fix the broken pole. We still need our utility crews to do that, but it can reduce the number of customers impacted by the outage by as much as 75%.
Duke Energy is asking customers to notify them if they lose power. If your power goes out, you can give them a call, send a message on your Duke Energy app, or text out to 57801. For more info on how you can prepare for the storm, just go to our website, WRAL.com. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And power is out for thousands this morning in Cancun after Helene unleashed its fury there. Streets were flooded and fallen trees were reported throughout the area. Tourists who were hoping to secure flights back home found their flights canceled or delayed. And parts of the western part of the state are already seeing flooding this morning ahead of Helene. This is video from Asheville showing floodwaters rising. This is near Biltmore Village. And look at this video of a tornado near the Chitola Resort in Blowing Rock. The video of this rotation here was taken around 6:30 last night. Blowing Rock's town manager says the storm took down at least 25 trees. Watauga County schools will dismiss early today to prepare for more severe weather. And WRAL has a crew headed to the mountains this morning. You can look for their live reports today. That's starting at 4. And this morning at 11 o'clock, Governor Roy Cooper and emergency management officials will give an update on the preparations for Helene. You can watch it live on Fox 50 and on WRAL News Plus. And you can count on WRAL to keep you updated throughout the storms. Download the WRAL News app where you can find live radar and get alerts based on your location. Make sure your notifications are turned on.
Got a breaking update here in the WRAL Live Center. Hoda Kotb, a co-host of the Today Show, is announcing that she is stepping down from that program here. This breaking within the past 20 minutes or so. Just to give you a quick quote of what she had here in this article, I can read it for you. As for why, she says, "I realized it was time for me to turn the page at 60 and try something new." And she said that while she was fighting back tears. And you'll know that she has obviously done so much work at NBC News. She has worked there for nearly 30 years. She was also working on Dateline as well. And Michelle, if I'm not mistaken, I think she worked at the station you worked at years ago in the late 80s at Wink Television down in Fort Myers, Florida. So there's that connection there for you.
Wow, what a staple. Oh, my goodness. Well, police in Durham are working to make an arrest after a shooting that injured one person. Officers responded to West Cornwallis Road near South Roxborough Street just after 8:30 last night. They found a man who had been shot. He was taken to the hospital and is expected to be okay. And top members of Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson's state office are resigning. Sources tell WRAL that 4 senior employees are stepping down. This comes days after a CNN report was released claiming Robinson made graphic comments on a porn site. 8 campaign staffers resigned over the weekend. Robinson denies the claims, and we asked his campaign for a comment on the story. They did not respond. Durham Public School employees plan to rally ahead of tonight's Board of Education meeting. The Durham Association of Educators says it will deliver a banner with the faces of more than 1,300 DPS employees. They say it represents a call for the Board of Education to respect workers' rights. The district is working to overhaul its salary schedules for some employees. The issue of pay sparked protests last school year. Last week, the board approved an additional $80 per month for some employees. And today, Wake County school leaders will talk about their concerns with a near $500 million plan to expand private school vouchers in the state. At 1:30 this afternoon, Superintendent Robert Taylor will address House Bill 10, specifically how it could affect funding and key services provided to students and families. The bill provides enough funding to address a wait list of 54,000 students. Governor Cooper recently vetoed the bill, but Republicans have a veto-proof majority in the legislature. They're expected to schedule a session to override the veto in November. And we'll learn more about a major economic announcement for Wake County today. Siemens Energy will talk about the new investment at its upgraded facility in Wendell this afternoon. Earlier this year, the company announced plans to bring an additional 500 jobs to the state. The Department of Energy invested $18 million at the company's Charlotte site to help boost transformer manufacturing. Today's event starts at 1:30. Well, tonight, voters in Raleigh will have the chance to ask questions to candidates running for city council. Current District E Councilwoman Christina Jones and her opponent, John Starkia, will introduce themselves. They'll also take questions about their policy. District E includes much of Raleigh's northwest corner up to Briar Creek. The event will run from 7 to 8:30 tonight. It'll be held virtually over Zoom. Well, it may feel far away, but holiday shopping is right around the corner. How much Americans are expected to spend online and how it compares to last year. Plus, Saturday Night Live is back for its 50th season this weekend. How the creators are leaning into the nostalgia. And we'll take you live out to Wilson this morning. Hurricane Helene expected to make landfall as a Category 4 storm in Florida later on today. Meteorologist Elizabeth Garner has the latest look at the forecast track and the rain we will see here in the Triangle. Welcome back on this very rainy Thursday as you look live over Boone, North Carolina right now. We've actually seen a couple of people walking to class in the rain. See some people driving there. They're in Boone at App State. They're going to be shifting to 12:15 online classes. They're in class right now, but they will be switching to virtual classes. A lot of the mountain areas have seen a lot of rain so far ahead of Helene. Meteorologist Elizabeth Garter has been tracking Helene ever since it formed. I mean, it is going to be a very big storm.
It is major impacts across the southeast from Florida through Georgia, on mountains of North Carolina. And of course, we'll talk about what our impacts will be here. We have a stationary front that's parked itself there over the last 24 hours and just funneled all this tropical moisture right into the mountains. And so it's causing a lot of problems there. It's a Category 2 storm right now, likely to be Cat 3 by this afternoon and potentially Cat 4 this evening as it makes landfall with winds up to 130 miles per hour. Strong winds, Category 1 as it moves through parts of Georgia and then on up into Tennessee where it fizzles out over the weekend. What about North Carolina? We take a look at all that heavy rain that started yesterday. Look at this. We have a brand new tornado watch that just went up. Started to watch a couple of these tornado warnings that popped up. One of those near Augusta, Georgia. And so we'll likely continue to see that down to the south. And we have some tornado threat today as well, but so much rain in the mountains. We'll move ahead and take a look at the last 24 hours in our viewing area. It's been pretty minimal, but in the mountains, it's just been extreme already with so much more rain left to go. Right along the spine, this is going to be right about where the Blue Ridge Parkway is. 7 inches of rain there. Asheville's at almost 7. Hendersonville at about 6.5. Up in the Boone area, it's been about 3 to 4, almost 5 inches of rain. So just really heavy rainfall. And the heaviest rain that we see with this entire system across the southeast is likely to be the mountains of North Carolina. We could see up to 15 inches. That's going to cause devastating flooding. For us, nothing like that. We're going to see just maybe some minor flooding, 1 to 3 inches of rainfall, and that doesn't really kick up in intensity until we get into the day tomorrow. Now, there'll be some scattered showers and thunderstorms. This is about 5 o'clock this evening, and you could see some scattered rain, and an isolated tornado is not out of the question, but the heaviest band of rain likely to come in tomorrow morning, and that's where we'll likely have the biggest tornado threat. So some scattered tornadoes are possible in the morning from around 8 o'clock up until just after lunchtime. That'll be when we see the heaviest rain and some winds gusting up to around 30 miles per hour. After that, we get into the late afternoon and evening. We should clear things out. A level 1 risk in our southern counties today. It's a level 2 risk for us tomorrow, especially as that big band comes through. There's a tropical storm warning from south of Boone through Charlotte and all the way down to the south. We can see winds gusting 50 miles per hour here, except in some of the higher elevations, it could be 70 miles per hour. So widespread trees down and power outages likely. Look at that, 70 mile per hour wind gust potential in Clemson, 61 in Boone. For our area, we're looking at about 30 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts, isolated tornadoes, and of course, as much as 1 to 3 inches of rain. What does that mean for the Bluegrass Festival? They're hoping to kick things off in the afternoon at around 5 o'clock, as we'll see the bulk of the heavy rain first thing in the morning. Saturday is looking pretty good for all the festivals and events around the area, and there may be just a few pop-up storms on Sunday.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. And Helene's approach is feeling reminiscent of Tropical Storm Fred from 3 years ago when the remnants devastated western North Carolina. That storm caused deadly floods and mudslides in communities including Canton and Haywood County. That's west of Asheville. The town's mayor says he is taking no chances as Helene moves closer.
Right now, it's about making sure lives are taken care of, learn from the lessons what I think we have, communicate with our friends and partners, and get ready because we know this storm is coming.
And the Asheville area is already flooding in some spots. Our team of meteorologists predicts Helene could produce wind speeds of up to more than 70 miles per hour. That's in the western part of our state, and dump between 10 to 15 inches of rain. It's less than 6 weeks until Election Day, and emotions are high. Some people in Raleigh say their candidate signs are being stolen from their front yards. The Wake County Sheriff's Office says this is a problem every year, and it often goes unreported. According to state law, it's a misdemeanor to steal, deface, or vandalize a political sign. That did not stop someone from stealing Julie Gorka's sign right out of her Raleigh front yard.
Something about it being like something that I was choosing and that said something about me and my beliefs that it felt more personal.
Gorka says signs were stolen from her neighbors' yards as well. Authorities say if someone steals a political sign from your yard, you should call the non-emergency line to report it. And police confiscated multiple guns from a Raleigh man accused of pointing a rifle at homes. This happened in the Brentwood neighborhood. Cell phone video from neighbors captured 31-year-old Michael Chadwick walking up to one home on Patrick Road. This was 7 o'clock Tuesday night. Witnesses say Chadwick was wearing body armor, had a pistol on his hip, and was pointing a rifle in all directions and looking down the scope.
Yeah, we have a great neighborhood. We have great neighbors, but you always have to be on alert for that type of behavior.
Chadwick was arrested on a misdemeanor charge, but has already bonded out. He is due back in court in October. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will visit the White House today. He's scheduled to meet with President Biden and Vice President Harris. The Biden administration is expected to announce a significant security assistance package for Ukraine today. Zelensky has expressed uncertainty of how another Trump presidency could affect Ukraine's relationship with the U.S. While speaking last night in Michigan, Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance said Zelensky should be thanking the American taxpayers while he is here. A Republican congressman is facing possible censure after a social media post attacking Haitians. In the post that's since been deleted, Representative Clay Higgins of Louisiana called Haitians wild and called Haiti the nastiest country in the Western Hemisphere. It ends with a call for Haitian immigrants to leave the country. Former President Donald Trump and Senator J.D. Vance have spread baseless claims about Haitian residents eating pets in Ohio. A Democratic congressman from Nevada moved for Higgins to be censured on the House floor. And because of the upcoming weather, the IBMA Bluegrass Live Street Festival is postponed until 5 o'clock tomorrow night. You heard Elizabeth